American students. And I believe the U.S., the Department of Education actually has on their website that although 40% of Black African American students begin at a HBCUs actually graduate 60% of African American students. So that's significant for us to acknowledge. Myself, I consider myself a social entrepreneur. I use the arts and media to build awareness on issues pertaining to African Americans. My undergraduate degree is in interdisciplinary studies from UMBC, and it was in African American studies and mass media. I went on to get a master's degree at Towson University in mass communication, and I'm currently in the community college leadership development program. Leadership, am I making stuff up? Development, did I add that? Okay, it's been a long day. But I've been working in higher education now for 20 years, and I've been teaching in community colleges since 2008 as an instructor primarily since 2011. One of the things that I want to start with my foray into this idea of studying abroad as an African American student. And in 1995, my last year in college, I got a phone call from the woman who was in charge of, at the time at UMBC, it was called Cooperative Education. And she was looking for a student who could go to the Virgin Islands right now, because there was a partnership that UMBC had just established where education students were going to be mentoring students at this elementary school. Now, I wasn't an education student, but for 3 years of my undergraduate experience, I had been a tutor through the Choice program, which is through the Shriver Center at UMBC. And so I was like, okay, I want to go. They said, she told me that the opportunity was completely paid for, my housing would be paid for, and I would get a stipend. The only thing I had to pay for was my airfare. So, as a low-income student who was a Pell Grant student, I also was a TRIO student, meaning that I was involved in a program that was funded by Title III funding. I was a McNair Scholar. Money wasn't that easy to get, but thankfully, due to the benevolence of a family member who was able to cut me a check, and this was before Travelocity and Orbitz and online travel agencies, where you literally had to go to a travel agency to arrange your arrangements. I was able to go and spend a month during my winter break at UMBC to engage in a mentoring opportunity that was in another culture. And we think of the Virgin Islands as not so much that far when we, especially being that some countries of the Virgin Islands are U.S. colonies, but some of the things that I learned were not necessarily what you would think. I learned things ranging from conservation, how you have to conserve water, the importance of certain practices, living on an island as opposed to the very lavish and extravagant way that we dispose of trash and utilize water here in this country. I also was forced to really examine the lens in which I looked at just navigating spaces that depended on tourism, and what that relationship was coming to a country that, although people looked like me because we were all Black, culturally we were very different. And so I opened with that experience as an undergraduate because it really began to foster this understanding of the importance of travel and engaging in travel, even if it wasn't necessarily through a scholastic opportunity. Since then, I've been to approximately 15 countries and had this overwhelming need to really get a sense of what the cultures are like in different cultures with countries within the African diaspora. And so, although this is my first opportunity attending an HBCU, I've worked here at Morgan off and on for the past 20 years as a staff or faculty member, and I realized that my experience was one of privilege. Even though I was a low-income student, that ability to have money to engage in that opportunity is one that sometimes is so overlooked and people don't recognize the importance. And I hear the ringer. So the key question that I gave Dr. Gala to ask me, and what I can address later after my colleagues speak, is what are the potential benefits of international opportunities for African American students, and what are some of the barriers for these students to engage in these opportunities? And that's something that I will talk about if you have a question later. Thank you.